Hi, my name is Lynette Clement, and welcome to March 2021. So, I am reading from the Love Exquisite Magazine, the March 2021 edition, which you can access on loveexquisite.com, LoveExquisite.com. So, I'm reading from the section called Learning by Design. So, as you know, these articles that I read that I record, the recording is unedited. So, excuse me if I stumble over my words. I'll try to go back for clarity's sake to make any misunderstandings more understood. So, with that in mind, I'm reading from the Learning by Design section, and the article, I should say, is titled Misunderstood. So, I'll apologize now for any background noise because every now and then you'll hear a motor going on. So, there's a lot of traffic and activity that I can't control. So, here we are. The title of the article is Misunderstood. People tend to view others how they view themselves, and their perception of you is not always accurate. How one thinks is usually how they formulate their thoughts and opinions about others. Sometimes people formulate their opinions of you based on how they are. Not how you are, but how they are. You'll find this to be true when you give people advice. When giving advice, some people will assume that you are trying to tell them what to do or that you are trying to control them, even if he or she is the one who asked you for the advice. People assume that you are trying to control them. When usually people tell you that, you're controlling or you're trying to control me, they're usually the type of people who are actually the people who like to be in control. So they assume that you're trying to control them. So when people give you advice, this is one thing that you should know. Know that everybody is not trying to control you just because they give you advice. You don't ask for advice that you really don't want to hear the answer to. So again, when people give you advice, know that everyone is not trying to control you or trying to tell you what to do with your life. When giving advice, some people are merely offering you suggestions for alternative options that you still have the option to control. So you can choose what you want to do with the information that you're given. So you should always look at the fact that you are the person who asks for their advice. And some people are merely trying to help you figure things out, not to control you. Nevertheless, again, when you ask for advice, you should always consider the source. So consider where the advice is coming from. So make sure the information is coming from a place of love and not judgment. That's important. Make sure that it's coming from a place of love and not judgment, anger, or hatred, or jealousy, even. So, what you do with that information, again, is solely up to you. A lot of people are misunderstood and misjudged because some people have the opinions of you based upon their own theologies. If you don't trust the person that you're asking for advice from, stop asking them for advice, especially if you think that they're trying to control you. So those type of people are usually misunderstood. So again, it's not that they're trying to tell you what to do, especially if you're the one who asks them for advice. So you have to take into consideration, the person that you're talking to. So a lot of people go around saying, you know what, I'm just misunderstood. But I'll get more into what that means, or what that probably should mean later on in the article. So make sure that your opinion of someone is not based upon how that person used to be. So oftentimes people think they know you, if you grew up with them, or if they went to school with you, or if they've heard stories. Sometimes they feel like they might know you, but you actually don't know the person unless you spend time with them currently. Everybody can change. So as we mature into adulthood, people tend to change the way that they act and think. So oftentimes earlier on in life, you might hear people say, oh, you want to control, you always want to be in control, or you want to control this, control, control, control. But as you mature, you realize that you can relinquish the control. Like, you don't always have to be in control. I know, for me, it's something that you can have it. You want to control it, you can have it, but make sure you're going to do it the right way to get it done. You know what I mean? Like, and my way is not always the right way, so please don't assume that that's what I'm saying. But you can't always relinquish control to people that don't know what they're doing. That's basically what I'm saying. But during the maturation process, some people will try to hold you captive to your past and how you used to be without fully understanding the person that you have become today. So that's what I mean by misunderstood, being misunderstood. They might not even be around you enough to know the difference between your behaviors then and your behaviors now. So a lot of people then feel like, oh, they're misunderstood. But if they are around you long enough to see that you've matured beyond your past, some might think that the mature you is fake and not authentic. So some people will still have something to say, even if you've changed, and they hold you to the person that you used to be. So they're saying, oh well, you ain't like that, or you being fake, or you're not being real, you're not keeping it real, especially if they haven't matured themselves. So that's important to know. So what people would have to do is delete the old version of who you used to be, and then replace that person with who you are now. So you have to delete the old version of who they used to be in your mind. That person has expired. So there's now someone new. So get to know that new person before you formulate an opinion on, or judge them, because that's basically what it is, on their past. So again, instead of viewing people how they used to be, view him or her for how they are today, and don't add any of your own biases to describe their character. People can and do change. Just think about the friend or family member who used to be an alcoholic or on drugs, and they stopped consuming those substances, and now they might become a minister or a pastor or a motivational speaker even. It is unfair of you to hold them accountable for their past mistakes, and assume that they're pretending to be someone else that they're not, aka fake. So instead, what we should do is thank and praise God for their deliverance and, from alcoholism or drugs. So thank God that they are no longer who they used to be. Thank God that they are no longer engaging in those same activities. So thank God that they are actually doing and being better. So don't think that people can't change just because you might not have changed. People can change. However, they have to want to change. So I say that a lot in the articles. But it is unfair of you to put wrong tags on someone else because of how you are, or because of how they used to behave. When people evolve to be better and do better, don't look at their evolution as fake. He or she took the what he or she did was take the limits off. They took the limits off of themselves and their ability to be and do better. They changed their limited way of thinking, and they wanted more for themselves. And you should too. For everyone who feels that they are misunderstood, that feeling is not your fault. That is important to know. So a lot of people, I hear them, they even call themselves misunderstood. Know that that's not your fault, that people misunderstand the person that you are. That it is not your fault. So don't spend your time trying to convince anyone that you are not the person that someone else might label you as. It is not your fault when others cannot see who you are outside of their own box. Just be unapologetically you, and don't worry about a few people who cannot accept the new and improved you. Take the negative connotation off of misunderstood. Take it off of yourself, because it actually isn't who you are. You Okay, so take the negative connotations of misunderstood off of yourself, because it actually isn't you who is misunderstood. So it's not you who are misunderstood. It's their distorted thinking and the misconception of who others might think you are. That's the misunderstanding. You know who you are. God knows who you are, and that's all that really matters. I know that this is not easy because a lot of people want to be understood. So I know that when people think that they're misunderstood, it's not easy for them to just um, disregard how other people feel about them. However, for your mental sanity and well-being is something that is beneficial to you. So, but again, I know that people say, "Oh, I just want to be understood." You know, you hear that a lot. But honestly, we are not always going to understand everyone that we come in contact with. We're simply not. You know, there's a lot of people out there that I don't understand, but it's not my job to understand them. Just like it's not anyone else's job to understand you, unless you're trying to communicate with them and you want them to understand what it is that you're trying to say. That's a different type of understanding. The truth is, everybody is not going to understand you, and that's not your fault. All of us are individually responsible for the labels of judgment and misjudgment that we place on ourselves, as well as the bias labels that we place onto others. We shouldn't always question or judge the misunderstood. After all, I'm sure that there is something about all of us that some people just don't understand. I guess we're all misunderstood, and that's okay. Learning is always by design. So that is in the Learning by Design section of the March 2021 edition of the Love Exquisite Magazine. Thank you for listening.